For those of you that don't know me, I am Jennifer Bourgeau, and I am at the University of New Hampshire. I'm the United States Country Coordinator. I'm happy to host these water coolers where we all get together, celebrate whatever day of the month it is, which usually our friends Mike and Dave Bilowski from Michigan bring to the party. And today we have Larisa Schelkin, who's presenting on AI and K-12 education. On my pizza, I am a big fan of Italian sausage, pepperoni, and ricotta cheese. That is my favorite combination. So with that, I will turn it over to Larisa, who's going to walk us through AI and K-12 education and what is happening. And we've all been hearing about this, I think, a lot right now. So I think it's a really timely water cooler today. So I'll let you take over from here, Larisa.
All right, that sounds great. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Larisa Schelkin from central part of Massachusetts, not that far from Boston. So give me a thumbs up if you see me sharing a screen with you. Yeah, I would love to share your presenter with you with a presenter view, but for some reason, sometimes my slides are not progressing. So I will try to do my best here. So anyway, it's not a lecture, it's a conversation. So you all probably in awe what is happening, but for many of you who really watching this development, it's an exciting time. So because AI have been in the works for many, many years. For me, AI, it started about 30 years ago when I was working towards my PhD. That was really long time ago. But just really interesting development to watch. And many of you who dived into IBM Watson here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, it just was really, I don't know, an amazing experience. I don't know if many of you have tried to really look into what Watson machine can do. So that was really an amazing experience. And many of us who worked in that field, we were really excited to see what's next. So finally, we see really amazing developments in AI. So let me see. Yeah. All right. So let's just name a few of the top AI technologies and what is the biggest news splash? And Jen already mentioned that. So yeah, so we all know about natural language generation. We know about speech recognition. Many of us try to do the virtual agent. You are aware of the AI decision management platforms and machine learning. You probably know about robotic process automation. I don't know if some of you tested the peer-to-peer AI network platform. That's very exciting thing to test and to really experience. So for those of you who are interested, we can really discuss it in other water coolers, but it's just really something coming up our way, and it's just really going to transform our collaborative work. So many of you probably tested and tasted the deep learning platforms. So that's just another whopping sort of experience that you might have. And you probably aware about AI optimized hardware. So, but what we all talking today and yesterday and the last month, basically, what is the biggest news splash that we're all experiencing? It's OpenAI and the Chat GPT. And yeah, many of you tested the visual, the DALL-E E2 and DALL-E E3. We're not going to touch this software today, but if you're interested in that part of the AI applications, we can talk about this in other in details in more in other water cooler sessions. So So OpenAI basically started as a nonprofit company in 2015 with mission to provide AI software to benefit the humanity. Microsoft invested $1 billion in OpenAI about 3 or 4 years ago, and with the goal to train the GPT language models. So Microsoft owns the exclusive license to GPT-3 code, and that's the reality. That's what it is. AI became a cap nonprofit in 2019 when investors really had an opportunity to really, it's one of those things when you invest in some startup and over the night you become a billionaire. So this is a business part of it. So, but the first company to release open beta AI software to public. So what we all heard, and many of you probably already tested. So you probably already dived into the Chat GPT. If not, we can really walk you through the process, how you can sign up. It's very self-explanatory. You basically, the sign up process is free, and you still can do it for free. So and it's very self-explanatory registration process. You just have to have access to your computer, and you have to have your cell phone number and email. So that's very easy. On the bottom of my slide, if you're interested in learning more about different of those definitions of different those top AI technologies, there is a reference to a great publication. There are many publications. I just really happen to use one of those, so you can read if you're interested in learning more about. So basically, I use GPT in collaboration to prepare for this conversation with you. And I asked GPT, what is the history of ChatGPT in your own way? And this is where I use the exact quote that ChatGPT provided to me. So ChatGPT is the variant of the generative pre-trained transformer language model developed by OpenAI. So it was first introduced in June 2020 as a conversational AI model capable of generating human-like text responses to a given prompt. I don't want to read from the slide, but I just want to demonstrate, just really say that this is exact quote from my collaborator, and I'm using AI as my assistant for quite some time now. And it's a wonderful collaborator. So when you are experienced in collaborating with anything that presents robotic software, it just really creates a very interesting collaborative process. You have to really practice your collaborative skills, and this is where where you can test your abilities to collaborate with other humans as well as with robots. So it's very interesting process-wise, and for those of you who are excited and would like to learn more, we can have much more in-depth conversation. But today we just really would like to discuss it in general. So in the conversation, it is, as you probably all of you work in different educational institutions or collaborate with different educational institutions. So what the discussion is, since the ChatGPT really provides a unique opportunities to create any content. So what it really means, it's not only students can really use ChatGPT to create any homework, basically, to really do any writing, any essay, many parts of different disciplines homework and different disciplines. So just basically ChatGPT does an amazing job in doing so. Of course, you have to really check and triple check for different hallucinations, so to speak, but it's just really doing a 99% accurate work. So the discussion at this point in school districts and in universities and in public arena in general, what it is, and does it create opportunities, or does it create really a headache and more problems? So, and we hear from news, the chat GPT in schools. I quote this from a Forbes publication, where I give you the exact the reference on the bottom of that slide. You can read it in more detail. But we all know that a growing number of school districts basically simply stop allowing for students and teachers to use artificial intelligence chatbot ChatGPT. And it happens because they really raise a lot of concerns of plagiarism and cheating and all of that. But some experts, and I quoted from the Forbes, some experts believe schools should instead try using the software to their advantage. So this is basically ongoing conversation. There are many different viewpoints on this. It really depends on the educational level of the participants of those discussions. It really, if you're diving into the really community of computer scientists, it's just one sort of nuanced conversation. If you really participating in different discussions at the school administration level, it's another sort of nuanced conversation. If you participate in college, it's just a variation of different points of view. It's just this is ongoing, and we probably will have that discussion for quite some time. It's not going to stop anytime soon. So, but basically, if we summarize, and I use this from my friend and colleague from Computer Science Teacher Association, the Western Massachusetts slide presentation. We, of course, at the Computer Science Teacher Association, we discuss it for quite some time, and just more and more in depth, and just really it's ongoing discussion. So, so Beryl put the really pros and cons. So, and I agree with her, and with her permission, I use it in this slide. So the pros is customized tutoring. It's an assistance in writing. It's support for ELL students, and it's assistance in coding. So in cons, it's plagiarism and lack of thinking, lack of writing, lack of coding for future generations of students. So it's just really sets the scene basically for a discussion, especially this came from discussion with computer science teachers in schools, and many of them are concerned. But at one point we had a guest speaker from MIT, and we had the guest speaker as a chair of the Department of Computer Science from UMass. So many of them from universities level, they feel that we exaggerating the negative side of it in schools, and they feel that we need to really think and put accent on the benefits of having the GPT in schools. So what skills can OpenAI ChatGPT help students to develop? So if we will take a look from positive perspective. So if you will start using ChatGPT yourself, and not if, but when, because there is no way you can not to use it in whatever it is that you do, you will immediately see that the critical thinking is a really a required skill. That will be really in your collaborative work with ChatGPT, it will be this skill would be really enhanced. I'm sure you already have critical thinking skill, but it will significantly be enhanced by you working with ChatGPT. Your communication skills will be enhanced. And I can attest that my own example, and English is my third language, and it just really puts me on the spot, just really making me think more thoroughly and really be more precise in my English skills, because otherwise the chat GPT will really pick up a different nuances and maybe put accent and answer the question I'm not necessarily planning to ask. So, and it really not only happens with my communication, of course, when language is not, when one of the languages is not your mother tongue language, you go through the process of really advancing your communication skills. So take me on my word, take my word on it. It helps develop communication skills, especially for those whose English is not first language. So problem solving skills, that's another very important part of really open AI helping the students to develop those skills. Obviously technology skills and creativity. And again, it's just really a separate subject for a separate discussion. It's a mind-blowing, just really to test the other AI tools that really release the same way as ChatGPT, the DALL-E 3, that would really, you basically, if you could ask your AI assistant in a visual, if you could just say, paint a picture or draw a picture in the, I don't know, French Impressionist style, portrait of a young lady, I don't know, driving a modern car, and it just really some whatever it is that your fantasies are, appropriately, of course. So if you will ask your creative AI assistant to really help you with some developing some visuals, it just really does an amazing job. I was in awe when I tested it, and I'm not in artistic sort of area. My best skills are technical, so believe me, it just blew my mind. So, and of course, this is actually the also direct quote from Open Chat GPT, and I quote it right here. So what Open AI ChatGPT warns us that it's important to note that while ChatGPT can help students develop these skills, you need to remember that it's only one tool among many that can be used to support student learning and development. And ChatGPT emphasized the advisement that teachers and parents should be carefully considering the potential benefits and limitations of using AI models. So this is a quest for all of us, how to really be proficient in using that ourselves and helping our students to do the same thing. So we are, especially, I just happen to be studying AI for 30 years. I'm not practicing, I'm not coding anymore, so I'm not up to date in coding, but it used to be my passion many years ago, started from my graduate work. So, but at least my general knowledge helps me to really be on the top of sort of modern current developments, and really in every step of the way just really exceeds my expectations. So I was just wondering if I can have a discussion with my chat GPT about NASA Globe. And we had many discussions, and I wish you would be together with me in my room with my chat GPT, because we had a really interesting, almost philosophical discussion about NASA Globe educators and students. So OpenAI is a valuable tool for NASA Globe educators. So NASA Globe educators can use OpenAI in different ways to enhance their students' learning experience. You can read it from this slide. We developed it together with my assistant. So I was just very much interested in my assistant point of view on what supplementing lessons can we develop in NASA Globe. And I will show you a few examples at the in a few slides. So answering questions, yes, it's very helpful feature. Generating discussions, it will the ChatGPT will provide research support. For those of you who are in different pedagogical approaches, so one of the really amazing benefits is personalized learning. So, and again, each bullet in this slide really deserves a separate discussion, and maybe we will have them later on in Watercooler. So this is just an example when we when I talk to my chat GPT, and really we sort of massage this topic from different angles, so to speak. So OpenAI can help NASA Globe teachers in several ways: developing educational resources, chatbot-based interactive lessons, providing answers to questions, supporting research, and encouraging student engagement. So again, that's very interesting perspective. So for those of you who really work more in data and data analytics, and NASA Globe is that's what our bread and butter, so to speak, working with data. So OpenAI can help teachers to teach data analytics to students. And here's a few little bit more sort of few nuances of that. Natural language processing or models can be used to help students analyze and understand large amount of text data. And it can help students to learn about sentiment analysis and other text-based data analytics techniques. You can read from the slides, but it's just very interesting how OpenAI helps students to really learn the data analytics. So students, with the help of OpenAI, it's just much easier to really dive into the generative models and the chat-based interactive lessons that really devoted to the data analytics to students. And if you don't know how to do it, your chatbot and your chat GPT and OpenAI can help you to do that. It will walk you through the process. Literally, it will take your hand and it will walk you through the process. I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not really giving it too much credit. Of course, it's a collaborative process. It doesn't mean it will replace you. No, but it's a collaborative process, and it will really save a lot of your time. So I would like to encourage you to try it. So I think you will like it. So let me see. For those of you who are in programming, so who are, I don't know what languages you are proficient. So I started many years ago from assembler, and I walk sort of, it was a really nice adventure in my life to really walk through different languages, programming languages. So I was just interested to ask my chat GPT to really, I asked my assistant to show her programming skills. And I asked to really use the Newton-Raphson method to calculate the square root of the given number. And yeah, here it is. In my case, it's she. So she helped me immediately with coding. So, and for those of you who are programming in C++, you see how really a clear cut it is. So it's easy. So you probably can really see where the computer science teacher's concern is coming from for plagiarism or for just really cheating on your homework. All right, so I will give you a few examples of approaches to, like, I'm very much interested in bringing collaborative learning for teachers, collaborative learning for teachers, and collaborative teaching for them. So, and when I'm asking my GPT assistant to help me to build different professional development programs or different specific lesson plans or even instructional materials, that's where I can get help. And by the way, it can really dive in and provide you with an assistant, not only US educational system, but any educational system around the world. because for those of you who work globally, and all of us work globally in NASA, NASA Globe, so you are perfectly aware of there are many different educational systems and the way how they develop lessons, lesson plan, how they develop curriculum, how they conduct instructions, how they basically do it. Like for example, for some of you, it might be a surprise, but there is no instructional materials for some schools in UK. Just they prefer to really emphasize the independent thinking, and they don't feel they need to provide those to their students because they really would like to develop independent thinking and critical thinking and really independence in learning process. So here I ask very quick question from my open AI GPT. So if my objective is to introduce teachers to the concept of collaborative learning and the benefit of working with other NASA Globe teachers from around the world, how she would advise me to build that activity. And you can see she really provided me some very good ideas. But this didn't really satisfy me, and really I went further. I just really decided to try, and I think for many of you, you will find it useful. I asked my my assistant to really provide me with a sample lesson plan for teaching data visualization using NASA Globe data to high school students. So, because I know there are experts in this field on this call, and I know Mike Jabat would be very critically looking into this because he does it much better than any AI. But again, I was just, it was a really interesting experience for me to really learn. So this is what my GPT assistant came out with. And you see clearly developed agenda, objectives and materials and time frame and procedures and introduction and even time frame. I'm not sure if this is satisfactory to you in terms of the timing. I didn't really provide much more clear instructions to my assistant to really minimize the timing and develop it for 45 minutes rather than 1 hour and 30 minutes. But you can try to do 30 minutes lesson plan, whatever it is that you feel is appropriate, including assessment and extension and conclusion in creating data visualization and assessing and analyzing NASA Globe data. So it's very useful and it saves. I know you all masters in this domain It doesn't mean it's going to replace you. No, by no means, of course. But it will be helpful for different aspects of your work. Specifically, and I didn't put this here, but I was very much interested how my assistant, AI assistant, how ChatGPT would advise me on really integrating the NASA Globe activity into different lessons and curriculum in, for example, in Singapore. And it was just really interesting to see because I can see clearly the difference, how it's being designed here for the US educational system and how it's designed in Singapore or Germany or Australia or whatever it is that you're interested in. So, so yes, I think it might be of interest to all of you, or to many of you, how what is the best way for NASA Globe activities and NASA Globe information to be integrated into different grades, different subjects like chemistry, physics, mathematics, applied math, whatever it is. And you can look at that from different educational system perspective. I'm almost done. For those of you who are interested in a bigger sort of picture perspective, you might want to ask if these are open AI really released to the public and what is the government response, so to speak, if you will? Is there a framework for organizations, pathway to use artificial intelligence that will be minimizing the risk, and is there a way for any government to regulate that? So if you're interested in that type of topic, so I just referenced a couple publications here. You might want to take a look at government technology. You probably know that you will read it, that U.S. Department of Commerce, National Institute of Standards and Technology just released the document to better guide organizations' use of artificial intelligence and manage the associated risks. So these are the clickable. I will provide the slides to Jennifer, and Jen can share it with you. So if you're interested in that aspect, and from my perspective, yes, from my personal point of view, that AI has to be regulated, but it's a different subject for a different conversation. But from my perspective, it has to be really in very well analyzed and very well thought through process in provide and be some oversight and appropriate regulation that would still allow us for innovative thinking and developing new technology, but at the same time minimize the risk and minimize the negative side of it. So and this is my last slide. So this is very a huge development in I don't know any organization who is not having those discussions. So whatever organization you belong to, I guarantee they will have a ChatGPT OpenAI discussion. So my suggestion, my advice to you, participate. And my personal point of view, you would benefit more if you would go outside of your bubble, so to speak. Try to participate in discussions provided and or convened by different organizations, so you would see different perspectives. So but for those of you who are in education and who would like to really upgrade your skills, if you will, or just refresh your memory in AI, so there are many different places where you can go to. Some of them you're probably familiar with. It's ISTE. So you can get a very good professional development for educators through ISTE. I personally like the professional development for teachers through MindSpark. There is a huge conference in DC. These are for those who are in charge of, who are really leaders in education and who need to really get very quickly together to discuss from the leadership, from administration perspective, what's next. So how to support the positive development and how to minimize the negative development. So there you will see a lot of conferences on this topic, and I would like to encourage you to participate. Personally, I find refuge in Computer Science Teacher Association, and so much so that I'm a member of both Western Massachusetts and Greater Boston. So there are many interesting discussions to dive into, and I put the globe here. I would like us to continue this conversation and to really see different perspectives and really discuss best practices and really lessons learned. If we would really have ongoing discussion here at Globe, that would be great. Just really to conclude that, I just would like to say that together with a group of educators from Mexico, from Netherlands, from Ukraine, and from France and from UK, we in 2018 we had a collaborative experience. It was 2018, 5 years ago, my goodness. So we brought AI into our classroom, and based on that, we developed a professional development for teachers. And if you're interested in something like this, we can discuss it here in Globe. So we have manpower here in Globe, and my personal commitment to Globe. So whatever it is that I would be able to help you. Just you can count on me at any time. But again, let's just join forces and share lessons learned, share our points of view, share our experiences. And with that, back to you, Jen.
Thank you, Larissa. There are a couple questions in the chat. So there's one here from Sarah, and she asks if this could be used by students to help them write their research reports and posters.
Yes.
All right, then there's 3 questions from Svetlana. Is AI important enough that we should be training our teachers to use it for Globe data analysis now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, there is no question about it. It's just we are a few years late to that development. We need to really do it now, and we can do it together. It's very important development. We can hold hands and go through the process together. Absolutely. It's a must.
All right. Is there a downside risk so students don't learn to think by themselves and really understand the math or figure out how to visualize data?
There is a legitimate concern, of course. My best suggestion for you would be to really look into that from the perspective of progress in technology. So if we really, when we developed, I don't know, calculator, were we in danger to really lose students learning how to really multiply and divide and all of? Yeah, we were. Yes.
Still are.
Yeah. Still are. Yes, absolutely. So quite honestly, it's part of the much bigger discussion, but let's put it this way. Whatever it is that we might have all the rainbow of issues here in rainbow of opinions, but the bottom line is AI is here. AI is here to stay. We better off really accepting this and really taking it in our own hands rather than staying on the sidelines and saying, gee, this danger and that danger. Yes, there are many dangers for our children as soon as they walked out of the house door. But it's our responsibility to really be there with them during the process. It's our responsibility to teach them what is right and what is wrong. So we're much better off if we would be much more proficient ourselves in AI, and we would really teach our students to be responsible users. So there is no other way to do it. So the choices are very sort of, I don't know, staying on the sideline and saying AI, it's out of my taste. I'm not in computer science. I'm not a computer scientist. Can you stay away from it? If you plan on retiring soon, you might. But if you're not, you're better off to really diving in as soon as possible yourself and doing it together in a safe environment like here in Globe. We can do really, there is no stupid question or there is no anything. Basically, we can really laugh at each other's mistakes and walk through the process together, and then we can really pass on our experience to our kids. That's a philosophical approach to life. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Kristen Weaver put in a link to the NASA resource on the topic, NASA's Responsible AI Plan. I see your hand, Kristen. There's a lot happening in the chat here. Will AI fabricate data to make the student posters?
Fabricate data. You can really talk ChatGPT into that, but here where it comes responsibility. You can just say that this is wrong, and here's why. So at the same time, you need to really walk through the process yourself. You need to try to fabricate it yourself and see how it feels like. and you can try to really, you need to really walk the walk, basically. And then you can talk to your students about what is wrong and what is right, and explain that AI is something that they will grow up with, and they will be with AI for the rest of their life. And this is wrong and this is right. So, but we need to be very proficient ourselves in order to really, because students can catch our flaws very quickly. If they sense that you only talking the talk, and if they sense that you never walk the walk, they would just immediately sense that it's not authentic to you. So I don't know if I'm answering the question, but, and I apologize, I'm way too passionate. This is, you can tell.
Let's see. One of the topics for the annual meeting is open science. Do you think that we should combine open science discussions with AI?
Yeah.
I think, Mike, that's a good suggestion. So maybe we can add that to, I can bring it to the annual meeting discussions that I'm having, and you, and pass that on.
Sure, absolutely. The answer is yes. Yes, yes, and yes. And we should not really be catching up to this. We have to lead the way. It's a, I don't know, it's just NASA Globe. All power to you.
Let's see. Is it mathematics a weakness in Chat GPT at this time? Its strength seems to be in writing.
That's a very interesting question. Yes and no. So it really depends. So that's where you will actually see, you will see the experienced collaborator with AI, the way how they phrase questions, and the way how they able to really harvest the knowledge from ChatGPT. So if you are able to, if your questions are sophisticated enough to really dig through the knowledge base of ChatGPT, it will produce the results that you're looking for. But you have to be experienced collaborator with AI in order to do that. So yes and no, it really depends on your level.
All right, let's go to Kristen now with her hand up. And then we'll
yeah, sorry, I didn't feel like typing it all in. This was actually really timely because there was actually a future technologies working group meeting that met for the first time today, and at NASA, we're getting, a lot of the topic was about AI and machine learning, especially. And there's some other presentations that I think are on internal NASA sites, but they asked, and I think if anyone's interested in those slides, I can share those because they were given. We were told we can share them. I have to pull them off the NASA SharePoint site. But I think, Larissa, one of it was a really interesting conversation because there were people on it who were scientists talking about how to use AI and machine learning for the data, but also like communicators thinking about some of the things that are already using sorts of AI, like the auto-generated alt text that you see on things that can, be better or for worse, but that there's a bunch of those things that are already happening. I think one of the things that most stood out to me was because one of the ethical issues of AI is where's the training data coming from, right? With all the stuff that we've heard about with the images and stuff. And so there was discussion of, well, NASA has lots of data and resources and text and stuff that what if we created like our own AI and we used, ethically chose data that is NASA data or NASA text or whatever that we know is okay, and we're not, taking stuff from other people without asking them. And so it was like I said, it was the first meeting of this group, but it was really interesting. And so I thought, and it seemed very, very timely, Larissa, that I knew your talk was this afternoon and there was this other talk today.
Sure. Yeah, there are tons of discussions in the writers. It's basically ChatGPT can create any content. And it just really brings a lot of questions, a lot of how-tos, and a lot of why, and a lot of what if, this kind of thing. So, and a lot of ethical considerations immediately surfaced because there are many unethical things, and ChatGPT is not the kind of assistant who would just really say, I'm not going to give it to you because it's unethical. It's not. So if you asking something unethical, you will get the answer, and the responsibility will be yours. It really does an amazing job in coding, in data analytics, in data visualization, in machine learning, and basically in you know how to machine learning. It's just basically it's just an amazing things. So you see the neural networks in action. Basically, you immediately just throwing into the deep end of 3 or 4 or 5 layers, and you just really see something that you never even experienced before. So for those of you who work with neural networks, you probably can relate to that. But basically, simply speaking, it can do a lot of things, a lot. And a surprising outcome when people just really talked about robotics, they thought that they will replace the workers in I don't know, like some just really low paid jobs, basically. But it turns out what OpenAI can do, it can replace the journalist, the TV anchors, it can replace lawyers, it can replace, you can go on and on. It's basically, all of a sudden we realize that, yeah, OpenAI will not replace people. Of course, it's not necessarily correct, but it just really puts in competition. But those who work with their hands, like construction worker and things of that nature, they are not in danger to compete with ChatGPT. So, but those of us who write code, who works with data, who really does all this kind of work, who writes, who produces any content, I don't know, pictures, paintings, I don't know, differential equations, whatever it is, that's what it does.
Yeah, it's ChatGPT is not approved for an official NASA use. They said, you know, if you want to experiment with it, do it on your own.
Yes,
computer.
of course.
You can't use it. It's not supposed to be used for official NASA stuff at this point.
Yes, of course. And NASA is not alone. All organizations, all computer companies immediately issued internal memos without naming companies, but they all issuing internal memos as we speak. Don't use ChatGPT or OpenAI for writing a code, because obviously it just really brings a lot of issues.
Sarah, I think there's more wiggle room for people who are outside NASA. I think this was more of people talking about like using ChatGPT to generate, I don't know, like social media posts and things like that that are going to go out under the NASA branding. I think it's more that sort of thing. I think if you're using it with your students, that's a completely different situation. It's just something that's going to go out under the NASA name. They told us, yeah, because there's still concerns about how do you make it, what are the rules about making it clear that you used one of these AI things and it was not generated by a human, but generated by an AI service. So, yeah.
Right. I think if it could help students writing their research reports and projects, that could be very helpful. I personally spend a decent amount of time with students trying to help them, edit their work, but I just don't know if it's, is it the best thing for the student or not?
Yeah, if you're experienced in pedagogy, you can really take advantage of that. You can really have a discussion what went wrong and how to double check and how to improve, enhance, and things of that nature. You can have, and also the teachers really they now requiring, they just said one of the ways to do it is just really encouraging students to share the draft and really judge the process rather than the product. So if you will make it clear that you will judge the process, because you could just say, yeah, you can use OpenAI, be my guest, go ahead, but you need to tell me what mistakes your assistant in ChatGPT made. Did you find any mistakes? How you able to do it? What was the process? How you collaborated with your chat GPT? What was the process? Was the thinking? What was your logic behind your questions? What kind of questions did you ask? Why you ask these questions, not that questions? So there are just the sky is the limit. But again, what really I liked from discussions at computer science teachers, they said, grade the process, not the product.
Okay,
That's
on
Sarah.
that note, oh, you had more?
Oh, I was
I-
just gonna say, because Sarah had the point about, we're NASA funded, we shouldn't use the AI stuff, and I don't think that's true. That I think we can. We're not making a rocket for NASA, so the students
No.
can use the AI if we want to. I think it
Yeah,
might
no, I
be
didn't mean to
interesting.
imply that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be an interesting application for the C students to try out this summer
Oh, yeah,
with Margaret, the Texas group.
right.
Yeah,
right.
my suggestion is to be continued, basically. And my suggestion is just really join forces and really share with each other our experience and really learn the best lesson and basically the lessons learned. If you made a mistake, what mistake was made, why it turned out to be a mistake, this kind of thing. It's a very safe community within Globe. So I think we can really help each other from my perspective. Thank you,
Great way
Jen.
to end. Thank you, Larissa. I think that this is definitely a conversation that we will have to continue as the headlines continue about AI and chat GPT and all the other things that are coming out as well. So this sounds like a great place where Globe partners could explore and support each other in that, just like Larissa said. And also teachers. So we would love to have teachers involved in that conversation, and maybe some students if they wanted to contribute to that as well. So with that, I will call today to a close. Thank you all for coming. Larissa, thank you for your great presentation and bringing this cutting edge AI presentation to us. That was awesome. And definitely you will be hopefully a resource for us.